And welcome back to the Top 8 Debate for Everyday Board Game Podcast. We are talking about AEG games, and let's not belabor it any longer. We want to talk about AEG games, and we want to argue these. Let's go into our first round. That is our number 1 seed, Istanbul, versus our number 8 seed,
Dice City.
Dice City.
So, just a reminder to people, after this round, we reseed. So the lower seed will always face the higher seed. So basically, if, let's just say, Istanbul moves on, whoever's the lowest seed after the end of this round will go on to face Istanbul.
All right, perfect. Cool. So then, let's talk about which one do you want?
Istanbul.
Okay, I'll argue Dice City. Why don't you go first?
All right, so as I was going through the list in our break here, I'm just going to go ahead and make it easy and simple for everybody at home. Istanbul wins.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. There you have it. No, let's talk about why, though.
Yeah, so just to let people know, neither you or I really enjoy Dice City.
Right.
To me, I like the way it's supposed to work, and I was intrigued by it when you told me about it, and then I played it, and I was left with a whole lot of blah. When it goes down to game immersion, it gave me a memorable moment of halfway through the game, is this over yet? Are we done yet?
Right, and see, here's the thing, like, it is a really cool idea as a system, right? I mean, you're basically playing a really neat version of bingo. You have a 5x6 long board, and you're putting cards on these awesome boards, and you're basically building up a bingo board like an engine tableau. Like, that's awesome. That's a really cool idea. The problem with it is that it bogs down terribly as it focuses on, like, attacking, and it focuses on just very incremental upgrades, and it's just, out of the whole turn, you're taking 5 actions, 1 for each row. But then at the same time, it's like, oh, well, I don't really get much of anything. And even though it should just be like a game like boom, 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 like a deck builder, it just slows down.
So for me, when we go through the list here, I think Dice City probably wins ease of play because it's simple, the mechanism is familiar.
Yep.
The way, when you describe how it plays, it is likely to get to the table initially because it seems like, sounds something that's pretty cool. Where it comes down to the problem with it is the AP prone. I think, honestly, out of the two simple games here, Istanbul is very simple. It's you move your guy, you take your action in that area, or you call everybody back.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. So, but Dice City, when you're trying to make your decision on the dice and stuff like that, but I will give it ease of play. But the replay value, the meaningful choice, game immersion, and maybe art production is a wash here. I think the replay value, Istanbul is highly more likely to get play well. The length of time and the scaling well is amazing. My problem with Dice City, and this is one of the main problems, is that it overextends its welcome. It lasts longer than it really should for as simple of a game as it is.
It should be like a 30, 45-minute game. It tends to be like an hour.
Yeah. Minimum number of plays for full experience. The only difference with Istanbul has a bunch of so expandability goes to it too. It's got factions. You can get the big box with everything in it. The minimum number of plays for full experience, I think you would have to have more plays to get the full experience for Istanbul. Dice City, the only difference is the dice rolling. It's pretty much everything that's coming out is the same. It's just the dice are different because they're rolled differently.
Yeah, well, no, just for clarification, Dice City does have more expansions than Istanbul, but Istanbul has variable setup, and there's 3 suggested different variations of setup. There's like an easy, medium, and hard mode, but then you can randomize the modular board. Technically, you could do that a little bit in Dice City of where you put your cards, but not really.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot Dice City has several expansions. It is popular for a reason. I'm just not one of those people that get it.
Right. Yeah.
Meaningful choices. Dice City, the big problem with it is the dice roll. That's going to hurt it when it comes to meaningful choices because you don't really get to make a full, thorough decision.
Right.
So when it comes to impacting other players, mainly you find the dice that you want rather than what they can use or something like that. And then Istanbul, that's much more impactful because you're trying to beat him. If I remember correctly, you're trying to beat him to get, 7 gems?
Yes.
Yeah, so you take something away from someone to get that seven or that gem, they're gonna hate you for it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's like either 6 or 7, depending on the
Yes.
player count.
Yeah, and so the impact of long-term strategy again goes with that because you're like, okay, I have this set up, so if I can get this gem, let me go get that. Okay, now I got that taken care of. Let me go try over here and get that. So your long-term strategy is basically short-term strategies over the interim.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I think Istanbul is an incredibly smart game. Not to put Dice City down, but I understand why it's seeded as number 8 versus our number 1 Istanbul. It's pretty clear which one is the winner of this
Oh yeah.
of this round. Cool. So Istanbul moves on. Round number 2. Space Base versus Smash Up.
This one hurts me a little because I love both these games.
Then I will take Space Base. So full disclosure, I appreciate Smash Up for what it is. I just never had that much fun playing it.
So here's my question for you: what would you rather play, Smash Up or Dice City?
Smash Up. Yes, absolutely. But no, see, like Paul Peterson, his designs are really cool, and I like the idea of Smash Up. But Space Base this is where John DeClaire as a designer really shines. If you ever liked Machi Koro but thought it was too random, here's your solution. If you liked Catan but wanted more immersion, this is your solution. If you wanted any tableau building and interactivity amongst all the players, because the ships that you send off, they go deployed and you get to use them on other players' turns, this is your solution. This is a brilliant
I like to liken
game.
this to Machi Koro meets what is that? Gizmos? Yeah. Machi Koro meets Gizmos.
Yeah.
I haven't played Gizmos, but everything I heard about it, it's like, oh, all this can just be like boom, 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 because something activates, and I'm like, Space Base does that with the Machi Koro. So you're using the dice to get the things that you want, and then other people's turn, all these are hitting because this guy rolled this die. So yeah. No, this is really good.
Space Base, I feel, is just a legitimate good strategy game, and it's not hard to pick up. Like, setup is a little weird, just because like you all get a certain amount of resources, and then you determine start player by which ship you deploy, and then you get some more resources based on your seeding. It's a little weird, but once you get past that, oh my god, oh so good. And as far as expandability goes and immersion, I finished the Shy Pluto expansion, which I'm not going to spoil, but it has a storyline to it, but the mechanisms actually do kind of match the story, even though it's a really silly story. So it works.
For me, this is a bit tough because as much as I really, really enjoy Smash Up, I think Space Base as a game is better. The only thing I could say about Smash Up is it's very, very, very expandable.
Yes. I have absolutely
everything for Smash Up right now, except for the big box, the bigger box, because I have the big geeky box. I need the bigger, badder box or whatever it's called. That's in the Thunderstone Quest size box or the Massive Darkness size box, if you want to say.
Yeah.
I enjoy Smash Up. I've played a lot of Smash Up. I do tournaments when there was organized play for Smash Ups. I go out of my way and buy the collection promo decks like the sheep and the penguins and stuff like that. And I have a lot of fun with it. I really do enjoy it. When you go to game immersions, the theme does match the mechanisms. You're basically just taking two factions and you're trying to play them well together.
Right.
But there's a problem with Smash Up. And it's because there's so many factions that you have to be careful about who you put together. So, like, if you're playing Wizard Ghosts, they're not gonna gel well to each other because lots of garbage is still garbage.
that's brutal at 3. That's brutal.
So they're not going to gel well. So, like, again, I was going with the Ghosts and the Wizards, and the reason why they don't gel well is the Ghost is all about shedding your deck because the less cards in your hand makes your Ghost more powerful. However, Wizards is all about going through their deck as fast as possible, getting more cards in your hand. So it's like, how do I play these together? And some people can win with that. It's just you have to be smart in how you play it. So there is some issues where some of the factions don't work together. But honestly, if I go down through the list here, I have to say Space Base wins. As much as I like Smash Up, The only thing I can see is ease of play for the simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism. It's pretty much a wash. It's basically card plays for Smash Up. But if you've played Machi Koro, which is a very simple game, you know how to play Space Base to an extent, or to most of the extent. So it's I'm just gonna have to say it. Space Base wins, as much as I hate to say it.
All right.
I am probably one of the hardest fought people for Smash Up.
Right, and I get why people like it. Let's see here. My first game of Smash Up was Ghost and Plants. One faction is discard, and the other one is have a hand. I guess enough said.
It's kind of like what I was saying about the Wizards, where you're trying to get more into your deck this way you can make them more powerful. Yeah, so I get it at 3. I really get it.
Yeah,
and your second game was Smash Up Munchkin. I do enjoy Smash Up Munchkin, but I honestly didn't need it.
Yeah, and then the problem with it is also that you have to keep in mind is that Smash Up, if you play against people who play so regularly that they know those intricate combos, you don't have a chance. They're going to draft the ones that, I mean, if you play at random, and even then, they'll have an advantage. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing to have an advantage and understand the game, but there are combos that are significantly better than others, and if you don't know that going into it, then
one other
it's
thing.
hard.
I know it's a promo pack, and I know it came with the big geeky box and the other box, but the geek faction needs to be banned in all organized plays. They're way overpowered.
And Canadian brought up a good point. Do you think the theme is strong with Space Base? No. It's not. I think it's stronger than, like, say, Machi Koro, but it's definitely, the theme, I think, actually works better in Smash Up than it does.
Because honestly, the theme are the decks. So you're like, oh, I want to see how my Ghost Pirates work, or stuff like that.
And each one does work.
The Cthulhu faction and stuff
like if you have the dinosaurs, they're going to be big, massive things that don't have that much variability because they're just dinosaurs.
My favorite factions to play are the dinosaurs and the Bear Cavalry because it's all power.
Right. All right, give me 1 second real quick. I got to talk to my son. Hold on for 1 moment.
More.
My apologies. All right, so no, I know, and you said that while my microphone was mute, so they didn't hear it anyway. Anywho,
I know, but when I edit this, I have to get rid of dead air.
Yeah, no, that was only a second. All right, so Space Base moves on. We are in agreement.
Yes, we are in agreement on that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be one of the.
Just to clarify for people, Dice City was the only game that did not get a single vote.
Darn.
And Smash Up was actually in 3rd place with 4.
Oh, wow. It was one of the tied for 4, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go into the next one. Love Letter versus Point Salad. Battle of the Fillers.
Yeah. And what's funny is that I actually enjoy both of these games to an extent. I am actually played out a Love Letter. I played it a lot when I first got into gaming, but
yeah,
I still have a copy.
I like them both too, so I'm okay taking either one.
I'll let you take Point Salad because you can probably explain that a lot better than I can.
Sure.
I'll take Love Letter.
Okay, do you want to get us started?
So, Love Letter for me is one of the best, and I'll say it, it's a gateway game. It can get non-gamers to play card games because it's so short, plays really well. You're basically trying to be the last person standing, I guess you can say, without having to discard the princess. If someone finds out if you have the princess, then you lose. If you force to discard the princess, you lose, and it keeps going until they're basically the last person standing in a round. And I think it plays over 3 or 4 rounds or something like that.
It's the first to 7 points. Yeah, first one to 7 points if you're playing 2-player. Then I think it's like 4 and 3 points or 4 and 5.
Depending on the player, the higher player. And so it's a game where you're trying to. If you like poker, is the best way I could describe this. You might like Love Letter because you have to read the other players. You have to see what they're trying to do, what they're discarding. Because I think what happens is you draw one and you have to play one, and each card has their special ability. So one card will actually do this, another card will do this. But you don't want to discard the princess because whoever has the princess gets the win.
Yeah.
And so, Canadian Collector, have you tried any of the variations of Love Letter? I like Batman Love Letter. That is actually the copy of Love Letter I do own. I have it right behind me in my basket over here of small card games. I do like it. I haven't pulled it out in a while, but I do enjoy playing the game. The only reason we don't play it a lot is my wife is sick and tired of Love Letter.
I own probably about 8 versions of Love Letter. I have.
So I've played
I'll
the
list them in
original
a
Love
bit.
Letter.
Yeah.
I played the what is it? The
Bat Letter.
What is that game? Oh, the Bat Letter. The Lord of the Rings Love Letter. The Munchkin Love Letter. So.
Loot Letter. Yeah, right now, I have both Lovecraft Letter and the premium version up there. I have the regular version. I have Loot Letter. I have the letters, the Christmas version. I have a wedding version, and I want to say I have probably 2 or 3 other versions. So I have at least 6 for sure. And yeah, I don't disagree with you. That I'm sorry if we interrupted, but yeah, I Love Letter, there's something really smart about the design of it. It really launched the micro games thing into it, because Love Letter, what it brought to the scene is something that was simple and accessible, but yet had some depth to it despite it being so simple. So for example, let's say the number 3, the Baron. If you play a Baron and I get eliminated and I discard my handmaid because it's like, darn, well, then that tells you have a 5, 6, or 7, or 8. It's like, which one is it? And then the quantities of the cards are really smart on how each one comes out. It's a brilliant game, really.
And I think the reason why I enjoy it so much is because it's such a small card game. When we talked about games that we could take on a travel, it plays so well.
Yeah. Yeah, technically, you're like there's some background of like you're trying to get her a love letter, or get her a love letter to cheer her up because I think the queen has been arrested or something like that, and the people who are closest to her. It's in the Tempest universe.
But I think he's making fun of the fact that my wife won't play it anymore because she's sick and tired of it. So she wants me to write her a love letter, not play the card game.
Ah, gotcha. All right. So let's go into...
Which is funny when you say that. My wife actually really enjoys Keyforge now. That's one of her go-to games.
Yeah. Which, I'm sorry again, but 10 more decks. You're going to love it. Anyway. So, Point Salad. Let's talk about Point Salad. Should have been nominated for the Spiel this year. I don't think it was in German, which is why it wasn't nominated, and I might be wrong. But really, everybody expected it, and there's a reason for that. Point Salad is a very simple game where you have cards where all the backs have scoring possibilities. So, for example, it might say tomatoes are worth 4 points and lettuce and onions are worth -1 point. Well, then I know I can focus on tomatoes then at that point. And one might say every 2 tomatoes I get is worth 6 points or 5 points every pair. So that's another good one to play off of that. But then the fronts of the cards are all the 6 different types of vegetables. So what happens is you have a choice of either picking 2 vegetables from the tableau of 8, or 6, I'm sorry. Or you can take one of the cards face down, face up, to get for the point version. All you're trying to do is get the most points. Every one of the 100+ cards is different. Talk about immersion is amazing. And I mean, like, technically theme, you're making a salad. Okay, there's no theme. But really, it's a play on words off of the idea of, like, everything gets you points in games like Stefan Feld games. It's a point salad idea. So I think Point Salad is a phenomenally interesting game. Yes, it's also as simple as Love Letter, if not even more simple than Love Letter.
I think Love Letter is a bit more simple, just because you draw one card, you play the card, you do its action.
Yeah, where this one you just draw a card.
True. I honestly, but there's more to it because you got to be smart about how you draw, what you're getting in, because you don't know how things are going to score later on.
Yeah, this is one of those demos that I love, like, showing people, because I can put it down and I can say, okay, you either take 2 face down cards or 1 face up card for the points. The game's over when the piles are gone.
Yeah.
Have fun. And I walk away. And then they're like, that seems very simple. Hold on. And then they start playing and they're like, oh yeah, no, I totally get this. This makes a lot of sense. Everything's just spelled out perfectly. Honestly, my vote would be for, as much as I love letter, I think point salad should go on.
See, my vote would go love letter.
All right, let's break it
as
down.
As much
then.
as I love point salad, I think so. We will ease of play, simplicity, and familiarity with the mechanism. Both of us are saying the other game is easier, so let's just call that a wash because both games are very simple.
They're both very, very simple. Hold on real quick. All right, sorry about that.
Okay, so next up...
My son was trying to get out of his chores. So, yeah, so ease of play... Yeah, we can call it a wash. We can break it down if we need to.
Likely to get to the table initially, just depends, honestly, with that one. I think Love Letter would be easier to get to the table if it's any of the reskins of Love Letter.
Yeah, Batman Love Letter as the base is a healthy choice. Love it. Dad joke. Awesome. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but the base game itself is off-putting because it's such a... Like, I mean, you get anybody who has any kind of masculinity and is like, oh, I'm writing love letters. Oh, that sounds like a really boring game.
We call down here in the Southwest because of a lot of Hispanic culture, machismo.
Yeah, exactly. But point salad, I mean, if you don't eat salad, then whatever. But, you know, I guess that's the only reason. But getting it to the table is easy.
So we'll just call it ease of play wash. Replay value, length of time.
Replay value is definitely point salad.
Yeah, except for like the... Yeah, no, I think it really goes to point salad on that one. Length of time and scale it scales pretty well. So does Love Letter, but depending on if you get more players, it tends to go a little bit longer than it should.
Well, I mean, also, and you keep in mind, too, well, we'll get into that with meaningful choices, but I have a big knock against meaningful choices as far as Love Letter.
Let me guess. Long-term strategy?
Yes. I mean, because you could eliminate people in the first turn easily. Yeah. Now, the game is short enough where that's okay, and it's still fine. I mean, it's just every round, but...
But to me, it may be impactful to the long-term strategy, but I think Love Letter impacting other players is a lot better because, yeah, you could eliminate someone.
Yeah, but you also being able to pick out the point cards that I know you're going to want, or even picking a vegetable card below the point card that you're going to want will flip it face down anyway.
Yeah, that's cool and all, but again, for me, when it comes to the impacting of other players for Love Letter itself, again, when I mentioned it, you have to read the room. You have to read the other players, and that's much more important than say, oh, I know you want that card, so let me go ahead and make sure it flips.
Right. Whereas arbitrary choices, I feel like, really matter in point salad. So we're going to give meaningful choices to point salad, as well as replay value, which leaves us with...
game immersion and art and production, so...
Yeah. Immersion has to go to Love Letter, honestly.
It does, because of the memorable moments, the interacting with other players, and the mechanisms match the theme pretty well.
Yeah, the player elimination. Yeah, it's a big thing. And then theme matching mechanism. None of them have theme, really, but technically Love Letter does. I mean, other than, like, Bat Letter.
Point Salad, you're collecting vegetables, but you could put any skin on that game.
Yeah.
Well, like you can with Love Letter, but...
I mean, considering it's based off of a pun, and that you are just collecting different kinds of vegetables and people like different things on their salad, that's not a total loss of theme. But...
Love Letter is a bit more take that than Point Salad, yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Point Salad is a drafting game. Yeah.
But when it comes to interacting and memorable moments, I just get it with Love Letter because you are interacting. You're trying to read the other players.
Yeah.
In the memorable moments, I can name one just off one of its clone. One of our things was going around the table, and we play, I think it was the Baron, and we just asked him, do you have the loot? And it's just constantly, that was the way the Barons were played.
Yeah, which is great, yeah. Whereas you don't really get those memorable moments from Point Salad nearly as much. All right.
So, and this is where it comes to really interesting here when it comes down to art production, because we're pretty much tied.
Yeah.
We will be tied here in a minute if we give Love Letter.
Yeah.
So hold on. Replay value went to.
Replay value goes to
Point Salad.
Meaningful
Choices go to Love Letter. Game Immersion goes to Love Letter.
No, Meaningful Choices goes to Point Salad.
Yes, Point Salad. So if Love Letter wins Art and Production, which I think it should.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
The art is much better, even in the base Love Letter, than Point Salad.
I agree that the art is better. Yes.
Pieces and component. The card stock is better in Love Letter than it is in Point Salad. That was your big gripe with Point Salad, is you thought the cards were flimsy.
Okay, but the design is really fantastic on Point Salad.
It is because of the double-sided. I'll give you that.
But you're right. That gives it to Art and Production goes to Love Letter. So we have 2 and 2 each.
Our first tiebreaker.
All right, let's do it. Which one?
You want to guess who wins?
Love Letter, probably.
7-1.
7-1, Love Letter.
Love Letter.
Love Letter's moving on. Good job, Love Letter.
So Love Letter will face Space Base.
Yep. Wow. Never thought that would happen. All right.
But the reseeding cost it.
Yep. All right. And then our final round of the quarterfinals is Tiny Towns versus Mystic Vale. Oof. This hurts me.
I will go ahead and let you take Mystic Vale because you could probably describe it a lot better, and okay. I have an argument against it that I've had before.
Okay. All right. I will talk about Mystic Vale then. Do you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. Mystic Vale. The first... no, it wasn't the first card crafting game that they created. It was technically the second. Custom Heroes, I think, came out a little bit earlier.
It's the best.
It's my favorite of them, and it's a really smart game because it's effectively a deck builder, but it uses a lot of mechanisms from a lot of other popular games that turn out pretty cool. I like to describe it as a push your luck version of Dominion and Splendor. And the reason why I say that is because, one, the card crafting system makes your cards themselves better. And so you have already a really great choice at the beginning. Do I make really powerful cards and get them fewer, or do I make everything overall just a little bit better? It's making my turns better. That's already a pretty meaningful choice. Whereas you're getting these cards to try and get bigger combos or to be more steady. How you modify your deck is really substantive as you're playing along. Then on top of that, you're gaining resources to try and get Veil cards. Veil cards are worth points, and they are ways to get extra abilities that will modify, like how many spoils you get, how well you mitigate busting, how many points you get overall, or what resources you get in the future. That's a really cool mechanism. And then finally, the push your luck element of it. It actually tells you during a certain part of the game while you're resetting your deck and putting everything back. So you take everything that you've played in your field and you discard it to there. Take the top card of your deck, put it as the first card of your field, and then you continue flipping the top card of your deck and choosing whether to put it in your field. You do that during other players' turns, which once everybody's comfortable doing that, it makes the game super fast, super fluid, and then by the time that you have reset everything and got yourself ready and decided right before you're about to push, it's already your turn again. It's really cool. Yeah, I think Mystic Vale is an awesome little strategy game.
And I'll argue against that. I like Mystic Vale. It's fun. But the analysis paralysis that this game can cause is one of the most ridiculous times I've ever had playing a game. And that is my biggest thing why I have trouble with Mystic Vale. You have to play with the right kind of players. If you know someone's AP Pro, do not play this game with them. It is a chore. A game that should take as long as it did took us nearly 3 hours to play because of the analysis paralysis.
Which, once again, is not entirely a fault on the game. It's a fault on the players.
Yes, it is. That's why we have it in our ease of play here.
Yes, I know.
I know it's a player fault, but it's still
right. It's a fact.
It's got to be mitigated somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah, it's another reason why I think Tiny Towns should move on, and this is just me personally, is there's a couple things for it. One, it's relatively new. It barely came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's already number 4 on AEG's list. I think it's like 4 or 5 on the actual list.
Right.
That's because it plays so well, and it goes down like there is no tomorrow. And the reason why I really like it is the simultaneous play. Everybody's taking the turn at the same time. It's just whoever calls is changing every round, I guess you could say. So if I want glass, I call glass. Everybody takes a glass. That was someone else, Katie Collector. For me, I tend to think out my moves during other people's turns, like what I'm going to do, and I'm just sitting there like, I know my move. How are you taking this long?
Right, and then also you and me also, we're almost anti-AP. Like we're not against people who are AP. You and I push the game so hard that we like.
So
it'll literally be like one person takes like a few minutes for their turn. It's like Daniel's turn, boom, boom, boom. My turn, boom, boom, boom. Done. All right. Your turn again?
So the best way we could describe this is if you've ever played Terraforming Mars, you know that could be a long game because you have to meet certain requirements before the expansions to get the game to go. And we are playing with one of the people who are that AP pro, and you and me both, without talking to each other, was like, no, we're not going to put up with this, and we brute forced it.
We triggered the end of the game, so it's like you can take all the AP you want and you can overthink it, but realistically you're gonna lose because we're making you work that fast.
It was funny because our other mutual friend that was playing with us, he didn't know what was going on, and he's like, oh god, I gotta start playing my cards because I see what they're doing over here, because we finished Terraforming Mars in 7 rounds.
Right. It was pretty brutal. So okay,
back to Tiny Towns. The simultaneous play is amazing. But
if somebody's thinking out their move too long, that adversely affects everybody.
Yeah, but I haven't run into that in the Tiny Towns as I have run with Mystic Vel.
I've had it about the same, actually.
And so, because I play, and the big thing for me when it comes down to like the game immersions of Tiny Town, the first time I've ever played Tiny Towns was at Dice Tower West last year. And that was actually the first time they were actually...
Thank you, Canadian Collector. We'll play a game sometime, for sure.
So, it was the first time I ever played this game. It was just coming out. I think they were showing it off at Dice Tower West was one of the first times they were showing it off because it came out June that year, and this was back in March. And so that was the first time I actually got to play it. And I remember playing it as a group convention. There was a guy who was like, okay, what do you want? And they would say glass. And he would call it out for the entire group, but it was the AEG dude at his booth. And it was the most fun I've ever had playing a game. I almost wanted to pick up a copy, but they weren't selling it there. They were just showing it off.
Yeah.
But I still haven't picked up a copy for it yet just because I don't know why. I think the big part of it is because I think you have it and me and my friend have it, and then I try to not buy multiple copies of the same game within our game group.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like the fact of like one person calling out and giving like a timer, because then that forces people to make a decision. But this can be super AP prone, and it makes you feel stupid. This game is so good at making you feel dumb.
Yeah, it can make you feel stupid, but I don't know. I've played this more than I played Mystic Vel. Right. Mystic Vel, the reason why I haven't played it again is because of the AP prone. I have not run into that issues in Tiny Towns. You may have run into that issue because you tend to teach this game to a lot of newer players or people who are coming into the hobby at the shop.
Right.
Whereas I play with a lot of people who game a lot. So this game goes... I can play a game of Tiny Towns with 5-6 players, and we can be done within 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a great game to play on Steam.
It is a really good game to play on stream.
So, no, for real though, Daniel, here's what I encourage you to do. The app is actually pretty decent. Consider buying the app for Mystic Vel and check it out. So then you don't have to wait on other players. It's just your turn. It makes it... You'll feel a lot better about it, and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate Mystic Vel. I enjoyed it when we played it. It's just... Going with that analysis paralysis, the thing is, when people take too long when it comes to AP type situations, it takes me out of the game, and that's a problem when it comes to me wanting to be immersed in the game. Right. I'm one of those people who like game immersions because I'm one of those people that will play music that matches thematically to the game.
Yeah.
And so I'm all in getting into this kind of stuff. Like when we play Terraforming Mars, I put the Martian soundtrack on for us to play Terraforming Mars. That kind of stuff. So to me, that's the problem with Mystic Vale is that AP takes me out of that game immersion.
Well, then let's do a quick recap. Ease of play. That goes to Tiny Towns.
Tiny Towns, easily.
Art and production goes definitely to Mystic Vale.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's just a bunch of cubes for Tiny Town. Nice cubes, nice wood cubes, but it's just a bunch of cubes on Tiny Town.
So like the buildings, the custom buildings are nice, but the colorblind, it is not friendly for colorblind.
It is not colorblind friendly.
Yeah, it's not bad considering. I think Tiny Towns has good variability with the number of cards. Yes, agreed.
And that's why I would give replay value to Tiny Towns over Mystic Vale. Because the length of time and the scaling Tiny Town scales well with a bigger group than Mystic Vale.
Yeah,
there
is significantly more.
I would give to Mystic Vale, but when it comes to expandability, I give it to Tiny Towns because of the modules that you could change with the expansions. They got another one coming out. Plus, just in the base game, you take certain cards out and put different cards in, and it plays differently.
And that's tricky because there are already an obscene amount of expansions for Mystic Vale. Where there's only like a couple, but you're right, the amount of content that they add on, it's not bad art.
I agree with you on Tiny Towns is that the art. The art I probably would give to Tiny Towns, but the pieces and components and the design I would give to Mystic Vale because the cards are really nice. Where you sleeve them in together and the same card sleeve is really cool. And the design, the sleeving itself with the cards just is amazing for Mystic Vale.
Right.
That's why our production would go to Mystic Vale.
So 1 to each of them, and then replay value.
2 to Tiny Towns. Replay value, okay. We're saying Tiny Towns.
Meaningful choices.
Honestly, this to me is Mystic Vale.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Yes, they have another one coming, I believe, in November or something like that. Yeah, October, November.
Later in the year.
Yeah.
And then immersion. Okay, theme matching mechanisms. I mean, that you'd like. I mean, we're taking a fantastical theme.
I really think that for me, Tiny Towns gets that because you're all building different things and you're all using resources of the same material. So it's not much, but I think it works for Tiny Town because you're building towns.
But really, it's multiplayer solitaire, and
in a sense, but that's where we would go to interacting with other players.
Right. Okay. But again, theme matching mechanisms would be Tiny Towns. Player interaction, though, literally, Mystic Vale. Yeah. It's multiplayer solitaire.
Memorable moments I have to give to Tiny Town. There are times where I've seen people jump up from the table because they were able to finish stuff. Again, I played it at a convention. It just playing with people I don't even know, and it went down so well, and we had such a blast. And this was a big game. I think they were running 11 people at that booth. And so I have to give, for me personally, memorable moments for that reason has to go to Tiny Towns.
Right. Whereas if you do something big in Mystic Vale, everybody's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. But it's not like, it doesn't seem like a stand-up moment. That hurts me. But I don't disagree with you. Okay. So that means that 3 to 2, Tiny Towns goes on.
All right. You want to take a guess of how many votes Mystic Vale had?
4? I think it was tied for 3. Oh, really? So it was below that.
It was the only one that was had 3 points by itself. So we have an 8, a 7, 3 4s, 1 3, and 2 1s.
Wow. Okay. Well,
and Dice City didn't get a single vote. So as much love as it got on BGG, it didn't get love elsewhere.
Yeah. That's a shame. So that means that going into our next our semifinals, Istanbul will be against Tiny Towns.
And Space Base will be facing Love Letter.
Cool. So we're going to pause for a quick break just to reset the recording, and we'll probably jump right into it.
Yep.